Hi, I watched a video, it was a presentation of actual tutoring skills being used, a tutoring session, and the title was Pragmatic Language Skills. And the fact that it was a tutoring session was really perfect for us because it answers that question of how we can use it in the classroom to help ELs. So what happened was the tutor used a social story about ice cream, which was a predetermined interest that the student, showed, to talk about the pragmatics of language skills and what's important to communicate, and how to convey the message that was necessary, remembering to use manners, how to communicate the proper way to look somebody in the eye and how that shows respect. And before they started the story, she went over all those things. It was a review. So she was expecting the student to do those same things to her as she was talking. So she used a lot of body language, gestures, pointing to her eyes when she talked about eye contact, listening, pointing her ears. When she was talking about when you're at the store thinking about what flavor you want, she pointed her head to talk about thinking. So she was using kind of her whole body to help convey the message and the point of the story. Her voice fluctuated at appropriate times so to show the differences in her intonation, which was important, and how to interact with each other, remembering to say please and thank you. Things like that. And then she actually read the story twice. The second time through, she stopped and did not tell the student what was appropriate to do and asked the student for her to fill in, what would I do if this happened, or what am I supposed to say at this point, things like that. And there were times that the student knew the answer right away, and then when the student did not know the answer, she had picture cards and she would do her facial expressions and gestures to help that student figure it out. So the way that we could use this in the classroom, of course, is to use different social stories. You could do it in a small group or one-on-one for your ELs or even for your whole class, depending on, what you're noticing that the students need help with. I mean, all students can benefit from rules about manners and the intention of what you're saying, because you can say something, but the tone of your voice can imply something completely different, and that's important for kids to learn, especially at a young age. Some of them don't really get that. They hear your tone more than what you're saying, and so it's important that those two things match up. So, everything that I watched really matched up with what we read in these two chapters. About how the way you say things or phrase things can affect the overall meaning. So my lingering question then is, when you are trying to find social stories, how can you find some or write your own to make sure that you are addressing all of your students? So if you're doing it in small group, that's great, but if you wanted to do a large group lesson, social stories are supposed to incorporate the kids and what they are familiar with or that they like and their interests. And so how can you do that in a large group setting, especially if they all have different backgrounds? So you want to make sure that you're choosing something that they're all familiar with and that they would all enjoy to make them feel part of the story. So are there any tips for how to write social stories for a larger group of very diverse backgrounds? Okay, thanks for listening.